Hello and welcome back. Not as much energy this time, guys, because if you've lived in Toronto the past 24 hours, it's been a tough stretch. I'm Alex Mandarino. We got Brandon Brown. We got Justin Arenburg. It is Friday, January 16th. You're listening to this same day. This is coming out because there's so much to talk about. I just want to know where you guys have been the past 24 hours. I know, Brandon, you've been working. Justin, you've got a lot going on as well. Like, where did you read all of this news from, guys? Like, where are your minds at? I'm asking so many questions, but I guess the main thing is where were you last night when Kyle Tucker broke? Because breaking news, everybody, Kyle Tucker signed with the Dodgers. Brandon, let's go over to you first.
Yeah, it's funny. I was sitting down, I think it was 9:45 Eastern or something around that time.
Roughly.
I had just turned on the Leafs game in Vegas, so late game. We'll get into that.
Sure.
And I'm doing a little bit of work for JD's show, and I looked down at my phone. I've got a Twitter notification from Jeff Passan of all people, and
of course.
And that was how I saw it. So it was it was unexpected. I expected it to be earlier in the day. At that point, I was thinking this is going to roll over another day. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Obviously, you know, we've seen with Kawhi and all these other deals, some that have happened in the late of the night. So I guess I wasn't completely shocked, but I was definitely disappointed and upset at the time, and was just like, they're at that point too. I was like overwhelmed. There's so much happening. The Leafs are on.
I know.
Figure stuff out, and then this happens too. So it was kind of a wrench in a night, but it was it was crazy.
I mean, I agree that it was like disappointing, but like we're not surprised. Like this is not a shocking turn of events. Like I did not expect the Dodgers to get him. I honestly, true-heartedly thought the Mets were going to sign Kyle Tucker because I thought the Mets were going to be the most desperate team, and I figured that would be the case, considering their fan base was the most angry going into the offseason with missing the playoffs on the last day because he couldn't beat the Miami Marlins. Then you let Edwin Diaz go to the Dodgers already in the offseason. And I just figured the Mets were going to be the most desperate team and they're going to offer him the most amount of money. And after watching Tage Thompson pump the Montreal Canadiens for 5 points, I'm sitting in Buffalo traffic trying to get out of there. And I see this notification come up as soon as I cross the border. And I was like, well, all I saw was Kyle Tucker signed. And I just was like, that was the first like tweet I saw. I didn't even like read it fully. I just saw Kyle Tucker signed. And I was like, okay, where? And then I saw Dodgers and I was like, you have to be kidding me. Like this basically is just full-blown reason why there should be a lockout in 2027. It just is. There isn't another reason for it. But yeah, I was coming across the border, and yeah, it was just not a great night. Not a great night.
It was interesting, like because I've had a few conversations over the last like 12 hours or so, and one of the biggest takeaways was like there's insiders in all sports. And it just feels like this time around, there was no one that really knew like where he would sign until it was actually, you know what I mean? Like the conversation 100%. Was, we think it's the Mets, and his close confidants think it might be the Blue Jays, and his friends think it might be the Blue Jays. I don't even think Dodgers was really on the radar last night. It was maybe earlier on in free agency.
Yeah.
And it had been a couple months, and everyone probably thinks, well, the Dodgers are never not in contention because of the fact that they have the payroll that they have and blah, blah, blah. We all know this. But I think it's just weird to think like everyone sort of had thought they had the finger on the pulse, but ultimately, and I'm not discrediting insiders, they're very important. And a guy like Jeff Passan, you knew he was going to be the one to bomb atomically last night. But it just felt weird that it kind of came out of nowhere in a sense of like, oh, we're not surprised, but we're also surprised that like this outcome came without really a lot of like build up, right? So, I mean, for everyone that doesn't know or lives under a rock that hasn't listened or hasn't paid attention, 4 years, $240 million guaranteed. I'm just reading Passan's tweet. He's got opt-outs after year 2 and 3, $64 million signing bonus, $30 million deferred. It's an incredible deal. I think it's the second highest AAV outside of Shohei Ohtani, who, if you haven't been paying attention, he's also a Dodger. Yes, there's deferrals, but just for sake of argument. We've talked about the surprise, like, I don't know, like the Dodgers lineup now is unbelievable. I've seen mock lineups. Like We've done this year over year. It's
Yeah.
insane.
They just
It's
add
insane.
another big piece to the lineup every single offseason to make the lineup even stronger. When they got Freddie Freeman in 2021 or the 2021 offseason, 2022 season, I thought that was going to be the end of it. And like their lineup was already amazing at that point. Then you add Teoscar, then you add a couple other pieces, and now you just add Kyle Tucker to the
No, I
matchup.
mean, it's the rich get richer, right? Like that's the way that it works in baseball. And, you know, you talk about the Dodgers being kind of outside of the market, or it's like they were clearly the third team in the negotiations. It seemed,
Yes.
it seemed that way, but you're right. Like, I don't know if it has anything to do with the information that's getting out there, but it seems like year after year, the Dodgers are, you know, whether it's working in the shadows or they just don't leak anything. You don't really need any information, it seems, on them specifically for the deal to go their way. Like it'll just happen, and it's become that point where they're never a dark horse to sign a player. They should never be regarded as you know, out on anyone, and should never be a surprise when it happens. And they're clearly willing at this point to say to pretty much any player out there, whatever a team will pay for you, we will pay more. And that's kind of where we're at in the MLB. It's kind of disappointing to see a league kind of play out this way, but you hope eventually things will start to swing the other way, where whether it's players or other teams start to step up and either say, we're not going to take this anymore, or we don't want to go there, or we'll outbid them. And hopefully we can see just as much success with other organizations in that regard too. So that's the way it goes.
I mean, I think like when you think about where Kyle Tucker goes and you think about what this means for the rest of the league, it really just, to me, it stood out as like the Dodgers just stuck it to the Mets one more time this offseason. Like it just was like, you want Kyle Tucker? Okay, that's fine. We're just going to go offer him $10 more million than what you were willing to offer. Like it is crazy to me what happened. But yeah, anyway.
I think it's the point you bring up though, Justin. Like, I actually don't disagree in the sense that, like, I think the Mets are the biggest. Now, listen, this was last night. They were the biggest losers. We still have another deal to talk about today that might change that. But as a Blue Jays fan, like, we already sort of had like appetizers and lunch, and like Kyle Tucker would have been like a nice way to wrap up the meal with like a dessert. But it feels like the Mets have been starving this whole time. It feels like they haven't eaten anything, right? So they were like, we're saving all of our assets and our time and our energy on Kyle Tucker. Steve Cohen goes and tweets out and basically has all of Twitter in a chokehold for like an hour, and has to come out and then actively be like, no, guys, it's just a Pope reference. It's like, dude, no one understands when you tweet every like 6 years what you're talking about. You have to clarify. But my point is,
you guys didn't understand that? You guys didn't?
No, not until it was explained. I
knew what he was talking about. I was more concerned about whether or not he was being truthful, and now looking back, he definitely was. Like,
oh yeah, he was waiting.
As soon as I saw that, though, I thought in my head, if he doesn't know right now, or if he's tweeting that out, putting out that he doesn't know, I don't think that I thought right at that moment he's probably not going there, and my confidence spiked in terms of the Jays. I was like, well, then they maybe are a little bit deeper in this. They're negotiating with him, and they have a better idea. Maybe they'll come out and say, or so we'll eventually hear that they get it done. But yeah, at that point, like, I definitely wasn't thinking the Dodgers. I was just thinking, oh, like the Mets are in this and the Jays are in this. Let's go. And unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
That's not how it went.
Yeah, but like, so when I read that, I obviously saw both tweets because by that time I had both tweets were out.
You didn't see the first,
but the first one, when I saw it, I was like, he's obviously referencing like he's just waiting for a decision, and the Pope smoke when they decide on who the Pope is going to be. Like, he's just waiting for Kyle Tucker to decide a team, basically. And yeah, I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. Let's be honest. $60 million per season for Kyle Tucker is absurd. And if you're upset at the Blue Jays for not matching that offer or trying to go like long term and give him what, 40 or 450 million over 10 years, you cannot be upset with the Blue Jays for going in a different route. Like, this is this is ridiculous money that the Los Angeles Dodgers are throwing Kyle Tucker's way. He's not worth this much. I'm sorry to tell you, if you are the biggest Kyle Tucker fan in the world, he is not worth $60 million per season. It's just not.
That's kind of where I think I'm speaking more personally, but I think I feel confident enough to speak for a lot of fans or, interested parties around the team. Like if this was a similar situation to 2 years ago where first of all, Kyle Tucker's not Shohei Ohtani, that much is clear. It's just he was the biggest free agent out there currently and holding the market. We all know that. But if the Jays had not already made a splash, like I sort of suggested earlier, and they in their season have made them contenders for other fish, like your Dylan Ceases, even bringing Ponce over, even bringing Tyler Ross, like there's plenty of little, even if it's the little to medium sized fish. Cease was incredible. That was a great signing early on and kind of put the sign in the sand to be like, we're contenders again. But I think if that didn't happen, you'd feel differently about it. But now you're thinking, well, like, I'm not upset because, yes, he's not worth that price. We've seen this play out before. We're a little bit numb to the fact that it's possible, and we're still confident. I think I'm still a little bit confident with how the offseason has played out.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you guys feel the same. Like, does this change the way that the Jays offseason should be looked at, really? Like,
no, like this offseason was outstanding. You just signed one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher on the free agent market in Dylan Cease. You take Cody Ponce, who everyone looks at as a really underrated player that the Blue Jays signed at a steal price for 3 years, $30 million. Then you added Tyler Rogers to your bullpen. You have an unique situation there with him. Like, he's a low home run guy. Like, he doesn't give up home runs. So like the only thing that you would say that the Blue Jays didn't get is a closer in terms of their pitching staff situation. And who knows, that could still happen with a trade regarding Barrios, considering how many starting pitchers are on the lineup now. And to be honest, if we're talking, like, obviously we know Bo Bichette is a New York Met at this point, but if we're being honest, the Toronto Blue Jays made it to the World Series without Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
They did that without those guys, and then they went out and added Cease, Ponce, and Rogers to their rotation. So I think if you're upset with this, if you're upset with this offseason, you're not looking at it in full totality, or I think I butchered that.
Yeah,
totality. Yeah. Like, it's just you're thinking about it in a Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette lens only, and the fact that they didn't get those two guys.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that I think objectively the offseason was a success. They definitely addressed certain areas that they needed to, but I think when you look back specifically at the Bo Bichette part of it all, I think that is a little disappointing. Not to say that the offseason in general, it hasn't been disappointing. It hasn't been. It's been great. But I do wonder that if they had focused a little less on Tucker and a little bit more on Bo, if they could have maybe got something done. Because I do wonder how much they really felt they needed to address the outfield position versus the infield. Like, I think Bo, I think if you went back and said, even after the World Series, if you said, what's the number one thing people want, it's probably Bo Bichette. So I think that's why I say that, in terms of it's disappointing that he won't be back. And that's not on anybody. That's just the way that things go. But I just wonder, like, if now they didn't get Tucker the same way that they didn't get Shohei. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm sure there were other free agents that I think that they maybe had chances to sign and it just didn't work out because they were so focused monetarily, as well as, obviously with the player itself. So it's like, you wonder if that's kind of the way that they were focused this time around as well, because so much money was potentially going to Tucker, especially if it was going to be a 10-year, $300, $400+ million deal. Like, nobody really knows at this point, and maybe we will sooner than later. But I just think that it will just be so sad early on to not see Bo Bichette out there with the Jays. And then I think, like Justin said, because they've added so much around the team in general, they're probably going to be a good team again. So it'll be easier to kind of stomach that once the season gets going. So it's 100%. Not like, it's not end of the world. It's not like they missed out on, some of the greater players that were available. They've spent a ton of money, and I think that's warranted and should be rewarded. But it's just, the whole thing was, if you don't get Bo, Tucker is a great consolation prize. Or if you got to lose Bo, you go get Tucker. Like a guy who's really an impact player. And now that you don't have both, I think it's just a little bit disappointing that's the way it went. That's all.
Yeah, 100%. People are going to be disappointed that they didn't get either of those guys. But still, looking at their lineup, their lineup is like Springer, Varsho. This is projected for 2026. Springer, Varsho, Guerrero Jr., Barger, Kirk, Santander, Okamoto. I'm not going to Okamoto, Clement, and Jimenez. Like, that's not even like some of the bench players that they obviously have, like Nathan Lucas that we know, who all had big seasons last year. The lineup for the Blue Jays is still solid. Like, it's still really good. The only thing is it's not going to have Kyle Tucker, and it's not going to have Bo Bichette in there. And maybe that means you have a Cody Bellinger that they sign here, or someone else like Eugenio Suarez. I don't know. All I'm saying is that if this is the lineup for 2026, it could be a lot worse. Like, Bo Bichette not being in this lineup, yes, he is one of the best hitters in the American League for his whole career, but we saw them get to a World Series without him in the playoffs. They absolutely killed the Yankees in the playoffs. So I just don't. I understand that people are probably going to be pissed off. They're going to be upset that they're probably upset that they missed out on Kyle Tucker. And then it probably pissed them off that they got a double whammy with Bichette signing with the Mets today. And if you think logically, I'm not trying to be rude to any fans, but if you think logically, Kyle Tucker's not worth $60 million per season. And Bo Bichette is definitely not worth $42 million per season. That's $7 more million per season than what Vlad's making. Was it worth it for the Blue Jays to make that kind of business decision? No. Make a better decision, which they obviously did, in terms of, hey, we're not going to do this, and we're going to go put our money elsewhere, and we're going to go see what that gets us. So, yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm at with this. Like, right now, I can't see how you can be upset with the fact that they didn't get Bo Bichette or Kyle Tucker for the prices that they signed for. Now, if Bichette signed for $25 million per season, then I think it's a different conversation, personally.
No, and that's pretty like well put for the most part. I think if you look in a vacuum and you're looking at 2026, this particular year, I think the Jays are in a good spot. And I've seen a lot of people online suggest that there's no confidence that this team is better offensively than they were last year, which I can't disagree with. I can see arguments for both sides. You have Okamoto, who supposedly is supposed to be great offensively. We'll see how that translates. But we had Keegan Matheson on like a year ago, maybe just under, but to start the season. And from what I recall, there was no expectations of, obviously World Series is way above and beyond, but there was no expectations the Jays were going to make any noise. And look what happened. And yes, the year started the way it was, right? It wasn't a hot start. Like within the first, I think they started with the exact same record they did in 2024. Like yeah, like they had the same record through 40 or 50 games, and they turned it on. They just found a rhythm. And I think a lot of their pieces that the Addison Bargers of the world and the Clements, and like with Varsho came back, he added a lot to the lineup in different ways. So the 2026, I think they're in a good spot. I think what everyone also looks at is George Springer, his contract's up at the end of the year. Addison Barger just avoided arbitration, so we have him for one more year. But some of these guys are not in or went through arbitration. Point is, like, he re-signed for the 1 year, and he's a free agent in 27. So those two guys, especially, like, it would be nice to have some assurance after that, especially with Springer in his 36th season basically this year. So
he's
right. So I think that's the only downside. But I guess if you look at the 27 agent class, I don't know if it's super strong right now. So a lot of people are thinking, well, maybe that's the concern. I think what ultimately, if I'm just more upset about anything, it's the sentimentality of Bo. Like, it's tough to see him go after a great run. And also just my general, like, discomfort. I'm not a huge fan of the MLB's for like offseason, Like, it's been 2
Yeah.
months. Like, what the
Yeah.
hell are we doing? Like, on July 1st,
just
for
drags it
every
on.
other, like, it just immediately. Now, I don't want to swing the pendulum in the opposite direction, because I also don't like when NBA players, for example, are signed on like June 25th and they're not actually signed, but like they're signed. And then July 1st, everyone knows already and it's official. And I don't love that either, but there has to be a way to be like, all right, like Dylan C signed right away. He was like, I'm not wasting time. Like, I know where I want to go. And yet it's been 2.5 months and here we are. And like now, like a month away from pitchers and catchers reporting, like we're finally getting one of the biggest and the remaining pieces signed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know enough about the business to have an opinion on how to fix it. It just feels like it feels broken in a way. I don't know if that's just me, but I'm just kind of like, why are we here mid-January and like the signings are coming in? It's kind of weird.
Yep. No,
I don't know.
100%.
Yeah. And I think it's the range of money. I think that has a lot to do with that, especially when a player has so much leverage that they can hypothetically go back and forth with teams and say, I can get more money here, more money there. You know, it creates a bit of a longer dialogue. Whereas the other leagues, you know, in cap leagues, the market's a little bit more easily defined. So you don't really have the power as a free agent to just say, hey, I can go over to this guy and he'll give me more money, you know, and the other team has to kind of seriously take that and decide what they want to do. So I think that's part of it. But in terms of the Jays set up for the future, I do agree that they are in a bit of a pickle in terms of, well, especially their outfield, because you mentioned Springer, Barger as well, who's in and out there. But also Dalton Varsho, I think, is going to be a free agent coming up soon too. And as much as people wanted, you know, weren't happy about his play in the playoffs and especially in the World Series, he's been a very important player to that team, and especially when it comes to their identity as a defensive juggernaut at this point. So they're going to have to really decide what they want to do, kind of looking ahead. And like I said before, I think Tucker was kind of part of that plan in terms of shoring up what your outfield might look like, at least for the next 2, 3, 4, whatever, however many years they realistically thought they could get him for. But it'll be interesting to see how they kind of roll over the roster if they do lose some of these, you know, aging free agents coming through to 2027.
Before we switch sports, I think we should touch on Bo a little bit more in the sense of like, congrats to Bo, first off, because that's an absolute bag that no one was anticipating that he would ever sign for. And the reason is because Steve Cohen lost out on Kyle Tucker, and the Mets were desperate to get Kyle Tucker, and they became even more desperate to get the next big thing, and that was Bo Bichette. So 3 years, $126 million per season. It's got opt-outs after. This is such a player-friendly deal, and it's such like it was clear the Mets were desperate because they literally gave Bo Bichette whatever he wanted in this deal. Opt-outs after years 1 and 2. If he opts out, he gets a $5 million bonus, which is just crazy to think of. So he gets $47 million no matter what. And then after that, he gets a full no move clause, so he can't be traded anywhere. And yeah, $42 million per season for the next 3 years after the Phillies, at the most, apparently agreed to a 7-year, $200 million contract that would have paid him $28 million per season. So they went over, what, $14 million more than the Phillies offer on a short-term deal? Like, that is insane to me. But congrats to Bo.
It makes me. I agree. Like Bo Bichette has been. Here's the funny thing. So it was clear through at least reports, like he wanted the money, and I don't think you can fault anybody for that. But I also find it weird how like. Then you're hearing how much he loves the Phillies organization. It's such a great, well-run organization, and Don Mattingly's there. And like, oh my God, there's so. And then you find out, no, like on the spot, the Mets went, okay, we're gonna pivot and throw all this money at Bo Bichette. So it's like, are these reports really? Are people just trying to like find ways to make storylines, or really Bo Bichette was honest, and you're not gonna fault him for it, but like he got paid and he deserves it. But it's just funny how it came to fruition of like. The Phillies really thought it feels like they thought they had
him.
Especially with that 7-year, $200 million. And if Kyle Tucker signs with the Mets, Bo Bichette's likely in Philly, and the Jays are still in the same spot, but the landscape of the NL looks a little bit different. So yeah, I just find it funny how it plays out, and really it's ultimately about money. In his case, he was open and honest, but that's ultimately what happened.
It's crazy.
Well, and it's the type of deal that you would have hoped, maybe not to the extent, but I wonder if the Jays kind of went back after Tucker signed and offered Boa a different contract as well, or an upgraded, something that would have shown their desperation as well. But clearly it wasn't enough. And I know it's hard not to fault anyone for taking the money, but when you take the money and you go play with the Mets, who in my opinion are not going to be, not right away, at least, World Series contenders, especially going up against, the Dodgers. Obviously in Philly, he would have been stuck facing them at some point potentially as well. But I don't know. I just think that, Bo seems like a guy to me who's just kind of too cool for it all. And at the time that he signed, I'm sure he was like, yeah, Phillies are maybe a better fit, but yeah, that's fine. I'll take the money. I don't, whatever. Like that's fine. Like that's the guy he's going to be. And I wonder how that'll affect his legacy.
You get $14 million more on an offer than the one that you're gonna get. And then you have the chance to go back to free agency at 30.
Yeah, that's the conversation that needs to be had. Is hopefully he can sustain it. We've seen him with injury. I'm not wishing this on him. It's always the tough decision, right? Do you want the 7 years and the pay, ultimately more pay in totality, so you're gonna bring that word up again, or do you want the shorter term deal but with more AAV and a possibility to resign? He's still a pretty young guy, so I can see why that's more flattering.
Even then, the $200 million, or the $126 million that he's gonna get over the next 3 years, if he signs for even $100 million for 8 years after that, that's still more money for him, in the long run. He's doing the right thing in terms of his best interest right now. Brandon, you said the Blue Jays getting desperate. I can't see them going any higher than what Vlad's contract would have been. There's no way they're going over.
But I don't think that their original offer would have been that high either. So that's what I wonder is if they left any room and went back and said, hey, we'll up our deal to this much. And maybe, like you said, there was definitely a limit there. Because they probably didn't expect the Mets to offer that much money either. It's hard when you
probably did.
When you have an idea, and it's the same thing with Tucker. The reports about the 4 years, 200 from the Mets. Then it was 4 years, 220 maybe. And then, but nobody was saying 4 years, 240. The money is so high at this point that nobody, I think, can expect it or predict it. So it's when a team just steps up and says, we're going to pay you more than anyone in the market would have expected. It's hey, the player is going to be obviously ecstatic, but also, it's going to be understood around the league. I'm sure players all over the place, at any age, are saying, "Hey, this is great for the league to move forward." And maybe in a couple of years, they're not going to get the same annual value they're getting, but they might be setting themselves up to at least take a longer term deal and get that security. So I do wonder about Bo. If you take the 42 and you opt out or whatever, 47, what's he looking at? What is he looking at next year? It's just it's hard to understand what.
Depends on the year. And I would imagine that he probably gets more than what he was going to make this year. Because if you look at the market next season, he would be the best hitter by far. He would be the best bat available by far on the market. So it's not a bad decision by him. It just depends on the lockout, obviously, that's probably coming. But he did not make a terrible decision here by signing short term and getting a crap ton of money from the New York Mets, even if it means he's gonna go play third base.
Hopefully he can sustain his level of play throughout coming back from that injury and playing at a new position. But he's going to be in a great lineup. Or at least a good sort of. He's going to have protection around him. He's going to be part of a top half of a lineup that should be pretty good.
I think that when you look at the New York Mets lineup, it's pretty on par with a lot of the top contenders like the Phillies. If not better, it might be the second best lineup in the National League.
And yet
Behind the
they didn't
dot, yeah.
make
So
playoffs,
like, you
so.
can't blame him. You just can't blame Bo Bichette for going for that offer. Like,
And I'm thinking
No,
about it, like, you can't blame Kyle Tucker either. Like, I'm just think of what we're really talking about. Like, you have the opportunity to make the most possible money in LA. Like, you get to live in LA and likely win a World
short-term deal.
Series in year one. Like,
On a
why would you
short-term
come to
deal.
Toronto? Like, no disrespect, I love it here. Like, that's very clearly the only option here. It
But
just sucks.
I wonder if he talked to Kevin Durant about this, because would
Okay.
you guys take and we have no money. Like, I mean, I can't speak for you guys, but we have no money in that level, at that level. So
Sure.
like, are you guys taking $60 million for 2 or 3 years, or knowing that your legacy may very well be affected and that you as a player will be looked at differently? Or are you taking 45 and going to play somewhere else, or 40, whatever, even the Mets 50, and you'd still be looked at as the guy who came and tried to help revive the franchise, whatever it is, right? So tried to come with Juan Soto, create a duo, and they they're just looked on more favorably. And if they win, they get to say
at the end of the day,
they did it the right way. But I'm just asking you guys your opinion. Like, I don't.
At the end
some
of
guys
the
don't
day,
care, right? Like,
you throw that much money in front of someone, it's gonna be hard to reject it. That's all I can really
no,
say.
1,000%. And that's what I'm saying is, like, I hope even myself that in that situation that I would have respect for what I think about myself, and that I want to go do it the right way, and not be the guy who just, takes the money and wins the easy way. And not to say, like, again, they might have a ton of injuries and they have to actually work hard, and they, whatever. But like, a lot of people will not look at him going there and winning a title compared to him going anywhere else as like a real linchpin on his career. It's going to be more so he took the money, he got the titles, good for him, but we don't really think of him as that type of competitor. So
either way, he was getting like generational wealth. Like, either way.
Yeah.
If he signed long term or if he signed short term, he was getting generational wealth. It did not matter. He just decided to go with the team that was willing to offer him the most money, and it allows him to go back to free agency in a couple of years, even after year 2 if he wants, and go and get a long-term deal. And yeah, I just, it's not shocking to me that this guy decided to go to the Dodgers. How can you fault it? Like, how can you fault it? They literally won back-to-back World Series championships, and they say, we need you to go get our third. We're going to give you $60 million. Like, you're living in LA. You're their hottest guy on the market that they're going to bring in now. Like, they're the guy that they're like wanting you to come to their organization so they can try to win 3 championships in a row. Like, it's not hard.
I do like the question though, Brandon, of like comparing it to Durant, because like, I wouldn't say Durant's an incredible player, clearly one of the best players of his generation, but when he joined Golden State, it was the Steph and Clay show. It's not like he showed up and was like, I will be the best player on this team by a mile. And that's kind of where Kyle Tucker is. Like, he might not even be the 5th best player on the Dodgers. So that's why I can see it being like, whoa, like, you are kind of looked at maybe in a way that it's like, hey, man, like, we know what you're doing here. You're really just trying to earn a ring. Shohei Ohtani is clearly the best player on the Dodgers. So when he signed there, everyone was like, well, this sucks. It's the Dodgers. But then he immediately won a World Series and was the best player and dominated the league. So
and he had one of the best seasons ever.
And that's the thing. While I think it depends on if you are like the best player on the team and you go to a team that's already successful because you're driving their success the most. Whereas, and I don't feel this way about Tucker, but I feel like some people might think, hey man, you're clearly just joining a wagon and you're maybe like midway, even though you're making this much money, you're probably maybe the bottom of the top 5 group on your team. So like, you're really just kind of leeching off of it. And I don't know. I would probably agree with Justin. I probably would just take the most money. But every situation is different. We see a Dame Lillard who's been, eventually got moved, but for the longest time was like, I love Portland. And then eventually it's like, hey, I've done enough for this organization. Like, I can't carry it myself. So we've seen different shades of it, but it's a valid question. I like the comparison for sure.
I got one more for you guys.
Here we go. What do you got?
What do you think Vladdy would have done if he didn't sign that deal?
What do you mean?
Like, because he would have been a free agent this year, no?
Yeah.
He goes to market.
You mean
How does
short term
that-
or long term? Like,
Well, how do you think that changes what we've seen this offseason? Do you think he still comes back to Toronto? Do you think they try harder to keep do they end up with Bo maybe? Do they say no to both of them? They still try to go after Tucker? Like, how do you think that would have changed their offseason plans? And do you think Vladdy would have signed elsewhere as well? Like, because that's part of my point is he did the thing where he maybe could have got more money. I know with the first base market and everything, like people were saying like he might not have been able to get much more, but it feels like in this market he would have been able to get much more. And maybe it would have been a shorter term deal, like to Justin's point. But I just wonder what you guys think. Like, does he end up with a deal, and is it with the Jays? Like, what do you guys like, Justin? Like, what do you think?
no,
Vladdy would have done? No,
no. He's probably gone, to be honest. Like,
Why?
Because he got $35 million per season, right? The Mets just got rid of their first baseman, Pete Alonso. They're probably going to be willing to pay near $50 million per season for 10 years instead of 14. There's a difference.
But does winning mean absolutely nothing? Like,
Winning
look at where
means
the Jays
something.
got.
Yeah, winning
right?
means something. But the Mets, look where they were
They
at.
didn't make the
2 years ago.
playoffs, though. They didn't make the playoffs.
2
Yeah,
years
but
ago.
this year.
2 years ago. Like the Mets would have been able to throw as much money at them as possible. I don't think the Dodgers would have been in that conversation considering they had Freddie Freeman, but like the Dodgers or the Yankees, or not the Yankees, the Mets would have been able to just throw as much money as they wanted at him. Now, if it came back to it at the end of the day, like if I'll put it to you this way, like if Bo Bichette, basically, if Bo Bichette went first and Kyle Tucker was like second, and those two teams and Vladdy's on the market still, and like the fan base and say like the pressure is there from the fan base. You didn't sign Dylan Cease or any of these guys yet.
Yeah.
I would say that at that point the Jays are probably just gonna have to pay whatever that price is gonna be.
And I think they would, yeah.
Like that's where it would come down to.
Well, and that's why I asked, because I tend to think that Vladdy still would have ended up a Blue Jay, because to Alex's point, I think winning does help, and he got to experience that this year. But think about the state of the team when he did sign was not expected to go to the World Series. They had just come off a terrible year, and he just committed basically the rest of his career to the organization. So I think they maybe are upset that they misread the market a little bit and could have got more money from the Jays or from elsewhere. But I do think that's Vladdy has that loyalty factor, that money's not everything, and there's not always a clear one-to-one comparison. But the fact that
Bregman got 35 and he got 35, like that's ridiculous.
100%. And like you said, Justin, there's desperation for a first baseman from probably more than just the Mets.
Yeah,
like it's a pretty important position in today's baseball with the way that power and on base matters a lot. So I think he would have been a very sought after player, and it probably would have brought down the market for a Tucker, for a Bichette. It probably would have evened things out a little bit, because teams would have had more options. So it's like, I think that's a curious thing I was thinking about after Bichette signed, is like how that would have gone. Imagine what if Bo had signed first with Toronto and ended up staying. I think they both, obviously Vladdy ended up staying anyway, but like it could have completely changed how the offseason went. Like they might not have even been going for a guy like Tucker, or maybe they would have said, they got to go even harder because he would, kind of complete what they have. And they already were saying that, but it's just so interesting to think now that after a year ago, if you kind of laid out the terms of everything, Vladdy has a huge 14-year deal. Bo signs in New York for 3 years, and Kyle Tucker's on the Dodgers. You would have been like, nobody would have probably seen any of those things really coming unless you had a crystal ball somewhere.
Crystal ball.
Yeah.
Oh man, though, imagine like, I'm just thinking of what, had Vladdy not signed and everyone had just committed to saying we're going to play this season out, both of the Bichette and Vladdy. We'll see where it takes us. And then you lose in the World Series the way in the fashion that we did, and then none of them come back. Like that's,
oh man,
like that's
nightmare.
That would have been bad.
You'll take it. I think you'll take it if you're the Jays.
You can't take that risk. Like that's why they tried to sign Vlad.
They never would have. They definitely never would have. That's definitely why the hypothetical plays in. Like because like imagine like that's what we're talking about. That is the worst case scenario for this team by a mile. So you're gonna, like you sort of said, Brandon, I think you're taking the situation. If you're looking at where we were at as a team, the Jays were at as a team a year ago, you're taking what unfolded right now like 10 times out of 10. Right?
I think so. And I think as we move forward too, we will look back and I think say that same thing. It's like, yes, there will be a disappointment and a like a nostalgia for Bo and for the duo that they had and the team that we've had over the past few years. But I think, things are going to, and it gives them clarity as well, because especially if Bo was only willing to or wanted to sign a shorter term deal, it probably would have been more messy and given the Jays even more problems going forward. So I think it's just nice to have the clarity, and we'll just have to see and follow this team as we go into 2026.
Yeah, like this is gonna be, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine. This is fine. Everything's fine.
Everything will be fine.
Well, I can't, as long as they're committed. As long as they're committed to spending this kind of money, thankfully we can't go back, or we're not going to go back to like the 2000s or the before we got that first look at what real kind of playoff baseball, or what the new version of playoff baseball looked like with when we kind of got lucky with Bautista and Encarnacion, and then things kind of took off from there, and they realized, hey, they got to spend money to get the real talented players and to be able to keep a window open at some point. So it's just it's we're happy to be in that group of teams. So that's, I think, where we need to be looking at.
That's a good way to wrap that up. Do we want to go to why else Toronto is sort of in turmoil, or not in turmoil, but in the position that it's in? We can wrap up with NFL, I guess, but we can go into really the NHL mindset of where the hell. What happened last night? Mitch Marner and the Leafs play the first game against each other. This one is in Vegas, so the noise around the scenario was not probably as loud as it will be on Friday, January 23rd, next Friday. But ultimately, the Leafs blow 4 separate 2-goal leads. A lot of conversation about the media around Mitch Marner, and there was a bunch of articles written beforehand of how he's doing in Vegas and how his season's going. And then everyone goes and sees the viral Austin Matthews clip of him and with Mark Masters going like, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
I love that. I love that move by him.
Not by Matthews, by Mark. By Mark. I mean, he have a problem.
He reacted like a pro. He just said,
"No, he reacted like a pro." Just why would you ask? Why would you ask that question? You already
that's the question.
Him.
I don't think
that's the question.
Do you think Masters wrote that question, or do you think he was told, like he was told to ask that question? Like there's nothing he can do about it, unfortunately.
That's just suicide by Mark Masters there to go out and say that question to him, because
that's the job.
That's the job.
I get that's the job, but like when you know exactly what he's going to say in that situation.
So I don't know if you do though, man. I don't know if you do. I think what you're hoping, and what's probably going to happen is, oh yeah, it's great to see him, but we're focused on like the game. Like not like, hey, F you, I'm done.
He's already answered that all day.
I agree. But and I'm not saying it was a question that should have been asked. I agree. I just think that's kind of, it's a stock question, and it was supposed to be asked, and that's the script in the sense he was given, and he probably didn't want to have to get involved, but that's Mark Masters doing his thing, and he's a pro, like we were saying, at answering it. But I just love how, like, that's, in my opinion, that's the best media answer I've seen Matthews give, like, since he's become captain. Right?
Yeah.
Like, go ahead. Sorry.
That was the message I think that he especially needed to send at that point. And I think he recognized too, like you said, Justin, he had been answering questions in scrums about it. Like, it wasn't that he was shying away, but in the offseason, as we got closer to training camp, he said, these questions are going to be done. I think he said, he had the famous quote. He said, like, I think you guys got 2 more weeks or something, and then these questions are over. And I think you really saw him saying, like, I said this back then, and I'm going to stick to it at some point. And I think he saw that opportunity, the pregame on camera. He knew everyone was going to see that. And I think he took it and he said, I'm going to send a message. And I think it was absolutely the right message to send for a team that, to your point, Alex, not necessarily in turmoil right now, but has been through the ringer to start the season through 46, 47 games, whatever it is. They absolutely needed this type of response. And I think you saw that, especially in the post game. If you guys saw, like, Morgan Riley and John Tavares, these guys know Mitch Marner really well, or I'm sure are still pretty close with him, but they also followed Matthews' lead and basically said, didn't feel anything during the game, whatever we'd said pregame, fine. But they basically went together as a core and said, we're not really going to buy into this once we get out there on the ice and we show that we are a group and that Mitch is no longer part of it. So I really like that response. And I think that will help them going forward as a group. And I'm sure going into next week, it will help them kind of reset and allow them to kind of, become a unit again and go again. And because it's going to be even worse. You're going to be in Toronto. There's going to be more media. It's going to be more questions, more noise around it. They're going to have to really,
I don't think Marner is going to do any big
No,
things,
but I mean, for the Leafs, like like Matthews, Tavares, these leadership guys are going to have to answer these questions again in another week. And I think that was them setting a tone for maybe more so for that game, saying, hey, pregame on Friday, morning skate, we're done answering these questions, just so you guys know. And if you try to come back with them, these are the answers we're giving. And I think maybe the media will pick that up. Maybe they won't, but it's going to be very interesting to see what the dynamic is.
Yeah, I would just read the room. Just read the room. And if he doesn't want to answer a question like that, I'm sure it's going to be fine to ask him at pregame skate or morning skate. You don't need to ask that question before puck drop. Like, it's just,
you don't need to, but someone's going to make you,
No, I don't even know about that. Like, I just think that that's just a question that you see that you think, he might give me an answer for, but deep down what he's going to say.
Do you think that they thought they had an in with the, because the puck. Marner pass across? Do you think they were like, oh, he did that, so we can kind of play on that? I don't know if that doesn't happen, if they just skate off the ice, and there's no interaction. I don't know that they would have been like, hey, what's it they would have just had to ask a general question.
But I still you could have asked him post game and said, what was it like playing against Marner for the first time in your career? Sure, that's a very acceptable question. But you've already asked this guy, I don't know how many questions in the pregame or morning skate. Everything's about Mitch Marner. Why do you need to ask him before he's about to go play the game? Can you give me one more thought about Mitch Marner? What's your thought on him? It makes sense why he answered the question the way he did. I'd be pissed off too. I would.
The only thing I'll say is I feel like if the Leafs won in OT, and I guess this is a beat reporter's job, is to try and figure out, okay, we're going into overtime. I have a set of questions. What questions can I use depending on the outcome, right? It's the same as we're writing game stories in school or in our careers. We have guests booked or we have stories written based on an outcome, but they lose. The Leafs do. And if Marner scores the goal, when he stepped on the ice for OT, I'm thinking it's poetic. He's gonna absolutely rifle one, or he's gonna be involved. He wasn't, but the point is they lost. That is a weirder time, I think, to ask about Marner, to be like, hey, we just lost pretty brutally. Listen, there's been worse losses, but we lost this game. We had, like I said earlier, 4 separate 2-goal leads. And you want to ask me about Mitch Marner now? That's kind of more where I'm like, all right, bro. We just lost.
You shouldn't be doing it at all then in pregame, postgame. Just let it go.
I know you should, but that's the world we live in. That's the story. Unfortunately.
Basically, you're just sending Mark Masters out there to
to just get burned at the stake. I understand.
It's literally just a tank lining straight up at Mark Masters that's just gonna shoot him down, and he's walking out there with no protective gear. And yeah, it's just it's not gonna end well for Mark Masters in that situation ever.
Yeah, and I mean, Alex, to your point of Mitch Marner scoring in overtime, when I think it was Dorofeyev scored that first goal, I legit, because he wears number 16. I know he's a bit bigger than Mitch, but I looked and I was like, oh my God, did Mitch just score? And then I quickly was like, oh my, thank God he didn't, because that would have been insane. And then obviously a guy almost ends up with a hat trick. But Mitch played well though. He did his thing as usual.
Yeah,
so
100%.
You guys, like, obviously last night was big, but it wasn't as big as what next Friday is going to be. Next Friday is the big one. We saw what happened last night with a little bit of boo birds in the visiting arena for the Leafs. Do you think that is going to be an indication of how next Friday night is going to go in Toronto?
I think it's going to be bad.
I think it's going to be bad.
I think if that's the way it was in Vegas, it's gonna be bad in Toronto, and I think it's gonna be booed whenever he touches the puck, and that's okay. That's all part of the game. I just hope people don't take it too far.
Agreed.
Yeah. You just want to see let it end when the buzzer goes at the end of the game. I think that's what it comes down to. They, obviously you don't want to see anyone, whatever, throwing stuff on the ice or doing anything crazy, but say maybe not say whatever you want, but be a normal fan and boo the guy that left your team. That's fine, I think. But you're right, Justin. I hope it doesn't evolve into anything bigger, and I hope that people can put it behind them, because like the team, there are definitely more important things going on. Honestly, than what's happening with Mitch Marner. So.
When you think about it, the exact same thing that was everyone thought was gonna happen was starting to happen. But now that Mitch Marner is gonna play them again, that it brings his name up. What I mean by that is the past month and a half, Mitch Marner and Toronto correlation has been dying down, and there hasn't been anything. And it was kind of put to the side. Now that they played him for the first time, and then they're gonna go play them at home next Friday. It's all brought back up again about how is Mitch Marner missing from this team right now? What's going on? The Leafs are now good. Do we even need him? That kind of thing. It was at the beginning of the season. It was pretty evident that was the hot topic of discussion. And then as the season went on, it started to dissipate. And frankly, there was nothing for the last month until 2 days ago when it was now okay. Toronto's playing Vegas. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting game. I'm quite excited for it.
Yes,
it's gonna be something else. Do you guys want to know something else Leafs related?
What do you got?
Always.
Anna Dua 12 minutes ago. Anthony Stolarz said a nerve issue was the reason he's been out for the past couple months. Feels good, but we'll need a couple more practices before he joins the team, or he's going to play again.
Okay.
A nerve issue.
That's...
You couldn't, this is not to Anthony Stolarz. Berube, you couldn't have said that, for the past 2 months? I don't know what it is. I don't know. A nerve issue.
That's the team. I don't know. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
What do you think, Brandon? I wonder what you think. Do you think that's a team thing, or do you?
I definitely think there was a concerted effort to kind of try to conceal, details earlier in the season. But we've seen recently, and I think it all started when was it Dakota Joshua? He got hurt, and it was seemingly serious. So they kind of had to come out and say he wasn't going to be with the team. They were kind of held, and then at that point, things started to kind of come out more. Obviously, they had a ton of guys out for a while. But even with Nylander, we didn't really know what his injury was. I think it was upper body before he came back. Now he's out again, lower body. They're going to keep that close to the chest. But yeah, I mean, the nerve thing, for me, like that's kind of concerning. But at the same time, I think back to Max Scherzer starting with the Jays this year, and he had a nerve thing with his arm that seemingly went away with the right treatment. And I think he took some time off, and Stolarz is doing the same thing. If they think they have a plan, and this is something that maybe, Justin, if I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, they didn't completely know what the issue was until they reached a point. I'm not saying that's up until now, because I wouldn't believe that.
I can understand that.
But I think now that maybe they have the most clarity and they're reaching a point where they're seeing that they're maybe on the other side of it, like they feel comfortable letting that out, because this just the way it goes, right? So
if it's Stolarz the one who has to say it, it's kind of it's speaks to itself. Like,
but it goes back to like the whole idea with Matthews and setting a precedent of maybe a player not wanting to reveal his status. I think other players on the team at one point or another have kind of taken that and realized that that's an option maybe. And so maybe the team went to Stolarz, and maybe they, in conversation, he maybe revealed that he didn't want to kind of go out with that information. So maybe that's why Berube was just like kind of had to play dumb. So maybe that, or maybe he was just being told, hey, we're going to try to keep this concealed a little bit. So I don't know one way or another, but it's just good to know that there may be an end to what he's been dealing with, and hopefully it's a positive one.
Yep, 100%. There is one other thing that happened in the NHL since we started this recording.
Give it to us.
I don't know if you guys saw.
Don't think so.
Okay, Elliot Friedman has reported.
Oh, were you talking about the Rangers thing or no?
The Rangers are not going to give Artemi Panarin a contract extension. They're going to trade him.
I didn't see that, but I saw the note that they.
Yeah, the note came out, and then this just came out by Elliot at 2:30.
Yeah.
So about an hour ago.
I mean, that makes sense based on the letter that Alex is referring to, where they said that they're going to be looking at a retool here coming up, and they're going to stick with their core players and prospects, whatever that means, because it seems like Panarin is not going to fit into that category. And I think for a while now, most people have recognized that, he's probably a guy that may be the biggest trade piece in the league this season, and could be the biggest free agent going into next season.
Basically, Jury met with him and told him he's not going to give him a contract extension, and that he'd be willing to work with his agent and him to trade him wherever he wants to go.
I mean, it's a smart move. How old? Panarin's like, what, 33
34, 33, 34.
See, I don't like that move of being like, we'll work with you to get you wherever you want. If I'm Chris Drury and the Rangers, I will trade him anywhere I want, and I'm getting whatever I can get.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're not going to get that because he has a full no move clause, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you go to him with a deal. You try to make the deal. You go to him with it. You try to get him to agree to it.
Yeah, but
it may not be as easy, but I think if you're serious about, we're just looking to make a quick retool, you're not doing that by saying, okay, Panarin, you just walk away basically for a couple of picks and maybe a prospect. Like they're going to need to take this seriously. If they're, I saw a tweet after the letter came out. They sent out a near identical letter 7 or 8 years ago saying that they were going to, and how did that go? Not very well. So I think they need to be looking at themselves in the mirror and not trying to help out every player they've got on the roster right now. But we'll see how they actually handle it.
The other one is Vincent Trocheck is not by Elliot, but other Pagnotta said that he's the one that everyone's looking at as well.
Well, what's his status in terms of trade? Does he have a no move or a
list
don't know
or
if
anything?
It's a partial
no move or off the top of my head. Because
honestly,
I do know that Minnesota is interested in him, and that does not shock me one bit.
And he's probably exactly the type of guy they would want. And if I'm even any team in the league, to be honest, my opinion only is that I would rather have a guy like Trocheck than a guy like Panarin, especially when you consider what the price tag
100%.
might be. So
that's where 12-team no trade list this year.
I thought he had something like that, and if I'm a team that I'm thinking I might not be on that list, I'm trying to get him, especially if I'm a contending team that needs help in that kind of middle six area. He's very talented and he's a worker too. So the Rangers are in a tough spot. I don't know. They thought they were going to compete again. Like, come on. Like
they're 5.6 million either. Sort of jump in 5.6.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
very good for another. I think 3 or 4 years. Yeah, but when they came out with that letter, and that was the first thought I had too, Brandon, was like, this is extremely familiar. I don't recall if they had if they had also said this was going to be the original letter was a retool, or if it was like, hey guys, we're rebuilding. I thought it was more of a rebuilding.
It was a rebuild. It was going to be a rebuild.
Yeah. And then they got lucky. I think what ended up damning them is they got the top picks. They got Kako.
They got Capo Kakinen or
Capo
Kako.
Yeah.
And then Lafreniere.
Well, then they got
both.
Then they got Panarin. They got Panarin, and then they got Lafreniere. They went from, I think it was 10th or 11th in the lottery ball or whatever it was, and then they jumped up to number 1, and they got Panarin, and it expedited their rebuild like crazy. Like
No, and they had, obviously Igor Shesterkin comes kind of out of nowhere. Adam Fox kind of develops into something, but realistically, like they did nothing with all of those pieces. Like, a couple of playoff appearances, they were competitive for a while, but
final.
Yeah, they were a very competitive team, but you could argue that I just don't think they did enough around those type of top talents in order to really, build a competitive window. And I think that's why you saw obviously like Jeff Gordon. I think it might be the same fate for Chris Drury. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he was supposed to be. Wasn't he supposed to be like the GM? Everyone looked at him being like, "This guy's the man." And within like 2 years, because last year with the Trouba deal and the fact there was like a lot of people like fighting back and forth in the dressing room about whether they liked him or not, and it was a lot of like internal like fighting. It seemed last year, and we're like, "What happened to this guy? Was supposed to be like the whiz kid." In GMs, he wins everywhere he goes when he was a player, and now all of a sudden, look, he has to send a letter. Like the letter on its own, I have my own thoughts on it, but the fact is it regardless, you have to, if that's the decision you have to make. I think personally, you have to do a full rebuild. I don't really love the idea of a retool. I hate a retool. If I'm a team, I'm like, man, like whatever. Like look at the Sharks. Like they had no choice. They're like, well, how are we supposed to retool? We don't have anything. And now they have a possible Hart Trophy candidate. Like it's not as lucky as simple as that, but I'm rambling. But the point is it feels weird. It's a weird position to be in.
The thing is, they're 8 points of eight points out of a wild card spot.
They're in last.
They're in last place in the Eastern Conference. Don't get me wrong. I understand that.
I know.
Say they went on a hot streak and won like 7 out of 10 games or whatever. Like, that could have put them right back in the mix, and they're not in this situation. But the thing is, this team is obviously underperformed from what they were supposed to do, and that's the thing that's the most concerning with this team. And I would assume that just like when they did this the first time, it will actually be more like a rebuild. It won't be like a retool. They're just calling it a retool. But the thing is also, Brandon, you said Chris Drury's gonna the fate looks the same for him. It doesn't though, because James Dolan, the friggin' owner, went on radio.
Sure, yeah.
I'm giving him a vote of confidence, and this is our guy. Like this is going to be okay. And then 2 days later, we're coming out with the letter 2.0. Like it's Chris Drury's gonna be there. He knows he's gonna be there. And this team is in absolute shambles right now. But that's the way life goes. So I don't know what else to tell you.
That's it. Yeah. Some cool news around the NHL. Let's wrap up. I think we should just wrap up with maybe some NFL quick thoughts on divisional round this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Just tell me your picks. That's all I want to know. That's all I care about.
Well, okay. Saturday, Bills at Broncos, 4:30.
Yeah, that's Bills.
That's exciting. Brandon,
just curse us right here. What?
Me? I did not curse you. How did I curse you?
Taking the all right? No, I'm just joking. I thought you would be on the Broncos.
No. I'm taking the Bills. I think it's a collision course. I'll give you my AFC right now. It's Patriots versus Bills AFC Championship.
It's not much of a surprise on one side for sure. But like you, I have faithful with the Bills. I think they're going to win the game tomorrow against Denver. So
who do you think's going to win Patriots versus Texans? Because guess what? Nico Collins officially ruled out.
That's really tough. That's really tough. But the Patriots did play the Chargers, and in the first half, like they played. Chargers defense is very good. You can say what you will about the offense. You fired Greg Roman, and I think that was the right decision. Unfortunately, you got 3 points in a playoff game. That being said, the Patriots did play a really tough defense. This defense, honest to God, I've never seen anything like this.
Okay.
Like, they just dismantled the Steelers. I'm just saying it's going to be a very tight one. Now, CJ Stroud will have to basically run himself into the end zone. But I'm just saying.
The Patriots defense is very good too. Here's the difference. The Patriots defense might not be as good as the Texans defense, but it's still really good. The difference is the Patriots offense is a lot better than the Texans offense, and I would much rather have Drake May than CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
If you how do you turn a ball over 5 times and still win a playoff game? That's ridiculous. Like,
yeah. No, I mean, when it comes to the Texans, I think their hopes kind of go with Nico Collins, and if he's not going to be able to go, which it doesn't seem like it, he's
officially out now.
He's
just got the
gone.
note. Yeah,
he was. I think their best hope in having their best offensive game against the Patriots, especially with, and Justin, maybe you have more details if Christian Gonzalez is going to be able to go. So
Christian Gonzalez is playing.
Now you move him down to guarding, the next best on the Texans, and it just gets a little bit easier, whether Dalton Schultz or Jaden Higgins or whatever, right? So they have some options, but yeah, like you, Justin, I do think the Patriots are going to figure out a way to score enough points to beat the Texans and move on to the AFC title game.
Yeah, so do we all have Bills Patriots in the AFC Championship game after this weekend?
Yeah, I guess after that conversation, I don't want the Patriots to win. But that shouldn't cloud my judgment. I do think that they have enough to make it there, and then we can worry about that conversation when it comes.
I think every fan in the NFL doesn't want the Patriots to win outside the Patriots. It's fair. I just think when you talk about this unbiasedly, look at
I agree.
These two teams have, and I think the Patriots match up very well against the Texans, and I think they have a better offense than what the Texans do, and that's the real difference. Because both defenses are. It's going to be a low-scoring affair. I don't expect any more than, I don't know, a 40-point game in total, I guess. But
imagine being the Broncos and you go out and you've won the number 1 seed in the AFC, and your first game is against the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. And you're looking across, and you got the Patriots who had to play the Chargers with Justin Herbert with one hand and an offensive line that can't guard him. Sorry, Alex, but
it's true.
Then they get the Texans without their number 1 wide receiver. It's just one of those things where it's if only things could have swung the other way, maybe for one team or another. But Texas, you got to get there, and you got to win no matter what. So
I mean, the Bills
will be impressed still if the
defense.
Patriots.
It's
no,
I just mean
in terms of the degree of difficulty, I would still think that the Bills present more than especially the Chargers in terms of your first game. But I mean, even the Texans, I think
I don't know about the Texans. I think if you did Texans versus Broncos, I don't know if that's an easy matchup for.
It's a lot of good defense.
Yeah, not necessarily, but I think they might take their ability to shut down Houston's offense and play that coin flip of a game with 2 defenses as opposed to having to stop Josh Allen and not that the Bills offense right now is depleted, but they're still going to present quite an issue for.
So
for the Broncos?
What about the NFC? What do we think?
Now this is where I think it will get interesting. What do we want to start with? Seahawks Niners?
Yeah, just go Seahawks Niners Saturday game first.
I'm taking the Niners.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, I'm taking the Niners.
Why?
A lot of it has to do with just I trust Kyle Shanahan more than I trust Sam Darnold. And I know that's not necessarily a one-to-one comparison.
Right.
I think that in the end, I think those 2 people will probably have the biggest impact on what happens in this game. I think the Niners have impressed me in terms of that they've been able to do enough with the challenge that they faced this year in terms of injuries, especially on defense. We talked about it last week. They just seem to be able to get things done, and Robert Saleh and that defense have done a great job in kind of meeting the challenge that comes with them each week. And I think the offense without Kittle will be tough, and I think that's going to be their biggest issue is can they score enough points again? Like that, of course, in a playoff game, that's always an issue. But when you're going up against a hardened Seahawks defense, I just wonder if they'll be able to get enough points. But again, I just see Darnold doing something dumb, and I think he'll mess this up for the Seahawks fans, unfortunately, because I just don't trust him in the big game. I just don't, and if this will be the game that if I'm proven wrong, I'll be happy with it. And next week, and if they get to the NFC title game, I'll look at it in a completely different lens. But right now, this week, I just trust what the Niners offer a little bit more than what I've seen from Darnold.
I think personally, I do think that the 49ers have been impressive this season. Like what they've been able to accomplish with the injuries that they've sustained is impressive. Very impressive. Kyle Shanahan probably should be coach of the year, to be honest. But that week 18 matchup to me for the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks, like the 49ers were rolling on offense, and then they come into Seattle in that game and they weren't able to do anything. And I think it's going to be more the same way. And do I think that there's going to be a better scheme on the 49ers side? Yes, and it's probably going to be a more competitive game. But I still think the Seattle Seahawks defense is going to limit this team to probably 17 points. And I think that Sam Darnold can get 20 points. Like I can't see a way where the Seattle Seahawks don't win this game. And that's not to say the San Francisco 49ers aren't a good team or they're not going to compete. I just think that the injuries, especially the one to George Kittle, that's going to be the last blow for this team.
Fred Warner's not playing. Ricky Pearsall is questionable. I think the 49ers are the team that it feels like are just an enigma because like they've been counted out all year with injuries. I agree that Kyle Shanahan should at least get a nod. I think it's hard to pick a team for coach of the year where they didn't win a division. And unfortunately, that's just the NFC West. They are that strong, and that's where Seattle took charge. But I like both sides of the spectrum, I think, are swaying me, but I trust the 49ers more because of the experience of the team. They've been in the playoffs. Other than last year, I think they've made it a few consecutive years in a row. Brock Purdy has had stretches this year where he seemed to be the best quarterback out there. Sam Darnold's played pretty well as well, but there's been no confirmed game where he has taken over and proven that he can win the big one. Brock Purdy has been in situations where he's played extremely well and he's gotten them just as far as they can go. I think he has one more in them. Now, when you're talking about the conference championship week, I think that conversation is different. But like you said, Brandon, we'll take it where we go. I would not be surprised, Justin, if the Seahawks won. But I think I'm taking the 49ers on like a field goal. Like it'd be a real tight one.
I'll put it this way. I won't be betting the Niners money line. I'll be taking them with the spread. That's that's kind of where, and I think Alex, like there's no shock if the Niners lose this game at all. But I think we're on the same wavelength where it's just like until you see it, it's hard to believe it. I think
now, Darnold is listed as questionable with an oblique injury, which was
I think he said he'll play, but like if you can't throw the ball at 100%, like don't discount that. It's not like he's one of these guys that he can get it done no matter what. Like
100%. So yeah, it will be interesting.
Final game.
Rams-Bears.
Final game. This is the most interesting one.
I agree, man. I'm pumped for this game.
This is basically the Sean McVay coaching tree against Ben Johnson, who's on the outside. And this is just like I've seen this like all week, like between like Matt LaFleur and like being in that coaching tree, and then like someone I don't know who I saw is trying to give like Sean McVay a little bit of help. Like it's been all over the place.
Matt LaFleur, I think.
Was it him that was talking? Like it's just been nuts that like this whole coaching tree is trying to take down Ben Johnson by himself. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know who wins this game. I do think I'll put it to you this way. I do think if the Rams get out to a lead like the Packers did, there is a very big possibility that there's no chance the Bears can come back against the Rams the same way that they did the Packers. If it's a close game, I would lean the Bears. It just depends on how the Bears are going to start. That's all it depends to me. I can't make the pick on this one. If the Rams are up, I cannot see them blowing the lead like the Packers did. But if the Bears are in it all the way through the game, I can see Caleb Williams having a delayed throw, just like he did against the Packers, and just ice in his veins.
That was the best throw of the year, by the way. That 4th and 18 or whatever, or 4th and 8, I think it was. To Odunze.
Both feet off the ground,
like
body twisted sideways. Yeah, just dot.
Insanity.
I mean, that's a nice thought, but who are you picking?
I'm going Rams because my heart says Bears.
Who are you going?
My head says Rams. The Bears just statted the while. I just want to say a stat.
Okay,
let me get my stat out first, and Brandon can pick.
Go ahead.
Because I think the Bears have won 7 games this year where they were trailing at the 2-minute mark of the fourth quarter. That's unsustainable, especially when you're playing like a Rams team. I can't see Caleb Williams pulling another rabbit out of his you-know-what. I think it's over. I think this is the game where I'd like to see them be successful. Ben Johnson will have the schemes ready, but Sean McVay has been to the dance so many times. He's seen pretty much everything you can't see, and he's still very young. I just see it coming to an end, especially after how close their wild card game was against the Panthers. They're like, we're not going through that again. They took the most penalties they have all year. I think they're like the least penalized team in the league, and that's what did them in to almost make it so the Panthers covered. I just think the Rams have a comeback game. I don't think it's even close, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the Rams as well. I think that especially McVay and I mean Ben Johnson going into the locker room after their win and yeah, kind of like you said, just a lot of expletives there in terms of the Packers, in terms of Matt LaFleur. I think McVay will take that seriously. If you guys don't know, Mike LaFleur, Matt's little brother, is actually one of the coaches on the Rams staff. So I think they're going to take that pretty seriously. And obviously, like Justin said, LaFleur is part of that whole McVay coaching tree. So it will only help them in terms of getting more information. I think you watch what the Packers were able to do on defense against the Bears in that first half last week without Micah Parsons, the way they were able to get to Caleb Williams a little bit, the way they were able to protect the secondary as well. I'm sure the Rams will take notice of that, and they'll be able to put in some schemes that will help slow down the Bears offense early. But you're right, Justin. Like, I don't think you can count the Bears out of this game at all. You get to the fourth quarter, and if they're within striking distance, it's possible they make a play that could change the entire game. And I think that's the scary thing about a Ben Johnson kind of quick strike offense, especially with a guy who's as capable as Caleb Williams. But in the end, I think over a 60-minute game, I do expect the Rams to kind of take a hold of this one at some point and just not let it go. So I think that's kind of what we're looking at. Unless, the weather, I was looking. Weather's not
crazy.
It's not looking great. It's going to be really windy. Apparently it's going to be cold. I don't know if we'll see any snow or anything like that. That might be the one thing that the Rams can hopefully look forward to, is like not getting that crazy inclement weather. Was it last year in the playoffs when they played Philly in like a blizzard? Like, yeah. That might have been what cost them a game. Like, I think that Stafford just wasn't able to throw the ball at 100%, and they went up against a team that didn't have to do that as often or as strongly. Mm-hmm. And obviously Caleb Williams will have to as well, but I think they're maybe much more prepared as a group to go up and face inclement weather. But we'll see. I think the Rams are strong enough and have the experience at this point to get it done. The Bears' time might come, but I just don't think it's this year.
Yeah. What do you got, Justin? You going to take the Rams or what?
Bears. I'm not going to give any reason. I'm just
don't
hate
Bears. it. Can't hate it.
I would love to see the Bears make a run. Like, they're a tortured franchise.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It's just
man.
Bears.
Yeah.
Bear down.
Bear down.
We'll see in the NFC Championship who they're playing.
I'm pumped.
If they're even in the NFC Championship, because I'm not confident in that pick, but we'll see.
I can't wait. I think we're in for the best weekend of the year in terms of football. We had some great games last week.
Last weekend was incredible.
I think this is going to be even better. I think not necessarily just like the way that the games are going to play out, but I think just the quality of football we're going to see is going to be the best we would probably
No.
get this year.
Okay.
No.
What do you want? What do you got, Justin? What do you got?
I think next weekend's going to be the best weekend.
There's only 2 games next weekend.
That's if you told me, and I'm not, this is against the pick that I just made, but if you told me it's Rams versus Seahawks and Bills versus Patriots to go to the Super Bowl,
great games,
then it is going to be insane. Both of those games, are going to be just insane. Both divisional rivals, both like two teams that for the Seahawks and Patriots, it would be the massive underdogs in those games, I think. And then both of them being the home field advantage as well. It would be insane. Both of those, if that's how it pans out next weekend, it just.
But that doesn't really address what I said, because it's going to be the best weekend of football. Next week it'll be just one day, all right? So
true.
Fine.
So we're losing. It's the last weekend of football. It's like kind of the culmination of the season, and then we get into
technically
a couple one day. One day.
Wait, what are you talking about? Because
actually,
national championship.
The national championship is on Monday.
That's this week.
Monday
Yeah.
It's this Monday.
Weekend, so
that adds to Brandon's point.
Yeah. Okay.
But you're not wrong. I think you're right. Like the conference championship weeks, most year it's like you're seeing the 2 best squads in each side of the bracket going off, and to go to the Super Bowl, like the stakes are the highest they can be. But it's something about this divisional weekend where I think you really see like the field is brought down to 8 teams. It's usually the best group of teams, and you're usually going to see the best results come from those games. So we'll see what happens, though. It's going to be incredible.
Pumped.
All right.
Awesome. That's a good place to end it off. A lot of topics to cover, and I feel like there's stuff we still didn't cover that we can save for next week. So incredible stuff, guys. Hopefully we get a better week in Toronto next week. I feel like a lot just hit us at once in 12 hours in the city. But all that to say, still exciting chatting with you boys as usual. Looking forward to an exciting weekend of football. If you listened, if you liked, keep subscribing and engaging as much as possible. And otherwise, enjoy the weekend. And we will be back next week.